The first human signal in months came disguised as static, a single pulse, a measured echo beneath the carrier wave of an alien transmission, slipped unnoticed through 10,000 relays. It wasn't a message meant to be heard. It was a key turning in an ancient lock. Across the galaxy, the systems that had mocked human silence began to falter. Navigation beacons drifted off alignment. Translation programs glitched mid-sentence, and encrypted channels looped fragments of human words in distorted tones. The Council called it coincidence. The Emperor called it sabotage. Only the oldest soldiers recognized the pattern. Control dissolving, logic breaking, the quiet before ruin. On Earth, the bunker hummed under low red lights. The air smelled faintly of oil and frost. Every terminal glowed with code streaming faster than any eye could follow. General Mason Hale leaned over the central console, sleeves rolled to his elbows, eyes fixed on the digital map expanding across the table. Alien fleets pulsed like constellations, thousands of ships converging around Mars' orbit. Colonel Avery Wu stood beside him, arms folded, face pale in the dim glow. "They've gathered everything they have," she said quietly. 27 species, half the Galactic Armada. "They're moving into Terran space." Hale nodded. "Good, good," she repeated. "That's an entire coalition. Better that they come together," he said. "Easier to make a point once," she frowned. "And if they reach Earth?" "They won't," Hale said simply. He turned toward the operators. "Status of Janus Lattice." "Phase 4 integration complete," a technician replied. "All hidden satellites synced. Lunar Command reports readiness." "Then start the mask," Hale ordered. The lights flickered as systems shifted. From orbit, Earth's surface seemed to vanish, its atmosphere scattering light in strange patterns. To alien sensors it now appeared abandoned, an empty world shrouded in electromagnetic haze. Wu watched the readings stabilize. "You just made us invisible." "Correction," Hale said. "I made us myth." Above Mars, the coalition fleets anchored into formation. Command ships radiated confidence. Their admirals had waited months for this, an easy victory to crown the Empire's triumph. "Deploy forward batteries," one commander barked. "We'll burn their remaining satellites, sweep the system clean." Across the decks, officers echoed the order. Engines ignited, weapons primed. The void lit up in gold and violet. But before the first salvo fired, the lights dimmed. Every display flickered. Every control panel froze. Alarms blared across a dozen languages. "Diagnostics," shouted a Veron officer. "Systems crash, core desync, or manual override." Another yelled. No response. Inside every ship, the same phrase materialized across the darkened screens in glowing white text. "Janus execution complete." Resetting panic spread like fire. Crews slammed their fists against unresponsive consoles. Pilots screamed as their engines powered down mid-orbit. Ships began drifting, thousands of them colliding gently, forming a ring of broken suns around Mars. From Von Prime, the Emperor watched the chaos unfold on the command holosphere. His advisors crowded around, whispering explanations he didn't hear. His hands trembled as static overtook the live feeds. "What is this?" he demanded. "An infiltration," said one technician. "Something buried deep in our networks." The Seraph General, Thren, appeared through a secure channel, his scarred face calm despite the flickering light behind him. "I warned you," he said. They waited for silence. "Now it speaks. Speak plainly, Thren," the Emperor shouted. "It's not sabotage," Thren said. "It's ownership." Back under the Rockies, Earth Command erupted with subdued efficiency. Screens filled with data, each red marker representing a disabled alien vessel. The war room vibrated with restrained awe. Wu's voice barely rose above a whisper. "It's working. Every fleet is offline." "Confirmed," said an analyst. "No power signatures, no comms, no propulsion. They're adrift." Hale stood motionless, watching the silent storm unfold. "They trusted our systems," he murmured. "We taught their machines empathy, and they never questioned what empathy listens for." Wu turned to him. "Sir, they're helpless. Should we issue demands?" "Demands imply negotiation," Hale said. "We're past that." He reached for the intercom. "Drop the rods." Across lunar orbit and hidden Terran platforms, ancient weapon systems awakened. Tungsten rods, Kinetic projectiles, no explosives, just mass and gravity. Launched from the dark, they fell soundlessly toward the clustered fleets. Impact. The first strike turned a dreadnought into a blossom of molten fragments. The second split a carrier in half. Within minutes, the void was littered with debris glinting like shattered crowns. The aliens couldn't even scream. Their comms were gone. Wu stared at the tactical display, voice trembling. "Sir, this is annihilation." Hale's reply was quiet but absolute. "This is correction." He turned away from the screens and poured himself a small cup of cold coffee. "Civilization," he said softly, "was never meant to mean immunity." On Von Prime, the Emperor's palace shook as its orbital defenses failed. Engineers reported cascading failures, translation errors, system reboots that never finished. "Whole cities went dark. Find their signal," the Emperor shouted. "Trace it back to Earth." "Impossible," his aide stammered. "Their planets gone? Gone? Sensor blind." "The atmosphere refracts every scan." The Emperor slammed his fist against the console. "Then burn the solar system blind." Thren's image flickered again. "Majesty, stop this. You're feeding panic into the networks. Every transmission you send spreads their code further. They cannot defeat an empire through silence." Thren's gaze didn't waver. "Then why are you shouting?" The Emperor froze. Around him the lights dimmed once more. His reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, a proud creature now haloed by failure. On Luna, Elena Moraine stood before her observation window, the stars reflecting off her dark eyes. A technician entered, trembling with awe. "Ambassador, it's over. The fleets, they're gone. All of them." She didn't smile. "No," she said. "Not yet." He hesitated. "Then what is left?" "Memory," she whispered. "That's what lasts." Her console flickered, showing Hale's face from Earth Command. His tone was composed. "It's done. Correction achieved?" she asked, phase complete. "Their systems are inert," Elena nodded slowly. "Then we proceed to preservation." Hale's brow furrowed. "Explain." "Destruction breeds martyrs," she said. "But isolation breeds truth." He studied her. "Von Prime?" "Yes." He hesitated for a fraction of a breath. "Do it." On the alien capital, as citizens poured into the streets under dying lights, the stars began to fade. One by one, constellations disappeared from the sky. Astronomers panicked, scanning instruments failing to lock onto any signal beyond their own orbit. The Emperor stood on his balcony, staring into a night that seemed to collapse inward. "What have they done?" he whispered. Thren, standing beside him, answered quietly. "They've rewritten the map." The Emperor turned on him, eyes wide. "You mean they cut us off from the rest?" Thren said. "We are alone." Outside, the heavens turned black. The stars remained, but they no longer belonged to that sky. Von Prime had been sealed inside its own reflection. Light trapped, space folded. The Emperor sank to his knees. "You can't imprison a world." Thren looked upward, his voice low. "They already did." On Earth, the bunker lights steadied. Data feeds returned clean. The operation log scrolled a single line. Isolation field established. Von Prime contained. Wu leaned on the console, exhaling. "Sir, they're trapped in their own echo." "How long will it hold?" "As long as memory does," Hale said. He walked to the viewport where snow swept silently across the mountains. "They burned children and called it peace," he said. "Now they can study the silence they earned." Wu looked at him, voice almost a whisper. "And us, sir? What does this make us?" Hale watched the falling snow, its reflection soft and endless. "Real," he said. "For the first time in centuries." Outside, the aurora shimmered faintly, synchronized with a heartbeat buried beneath the stars. The silence had become language, and the galaxy was finally listening. The Emperor of Von Prime had not slept in 3 days. His golden robes were wrinkled, his eyes hollowed to pale embers. The palace, once a monument of light, now flickered with unstable power. Each corridor hummed with the faltering heartbeat of a dying empire. Outside the glass walls, the stars themselves looked dimmer, as if the heavens were ashamed to witness what came next. "Status of the fleets?" he demanded. His voice cracked through the stillness like glass under pressure. A trembling aide replied, "Non-responsive, Majesty. All communications are silent. Our systems register." "Nothing. Nothing?" "Yes, Majesty." No propulsion, no energy cores, no life signals. The Emperor turned slowly toward the central viewport. Beyond the shielded glass, the once great orbital fleets drifted like corpses caught in slow current. They floated in stillness, thousands of ships locked in quiet orbit, everyone dead and glimmering faintly under the light of their ruined sun. "Find me the humans," he said. "Bring me their leaders. I will speak to them." No one moved. They had already tried. No human channels answered, no signals returned. Earth remained a blank spot in the galactic net, black, silent, patient. The Emperor's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of his throne. "We burned their colonies, their cities, their children. We showed them the cost of defiance. And now this? Trick of ghosts?" Behind him, General Thren entered without ceremony, his scaled armor dull under failing lights. "They are not ghosts, Majesty. They are gardeners tending their field." The Emperor shot him a glare. "You dare romanticize them now?" Thren's expression was unreadable. "You misjudge them. You thought civility was their nature. It was restraint. Enough." The Emperor slammed his fist down. "Restraint is submission. They begged for our treaties." Thren's eyes narrowed. They were cataloging our weaknesses while they smiled. Far away, in the command bunker beneath the Rockies, Earth Command thrummed with quiet precision. Every console showed alien systems collapsing into chaos. Fleets blind, worlds silent, data grids dissolving under their own weight. Colonel Wu scanned the displays. "Von Prime has lost full stellar communication. The isolation field is complete." General Hale nodded, face unreadable. "And the other systems?" "Half the Council's territories are offline. Civilian worlds in disarray. Their economies have collapsed. No central authority remains." Hale clasped his hands behind his back. "Then we've achieved strategic silence." Wu hesitated. "Sir, their surrender channels are flooding our outer relays. They're begging for negotiation." "Good," Hale said. "Let them," she frowned. "Do we answer?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Do gods answer when mortals pray?" The darkened throne hall of Von Prime. A low hum vibrated through the floor. The air itself seemed to grow denser. One by one, the holographic lights blinked out, replaced by a single beam in the center of the room. "Majesty," said an aide, voice trembling. "An unauthorized transmission is forcing entry into the royal network." The Emperor's eyes widened. "From where?" The aide swallowed. "Everywhere." The light coalesced into an image. General Mason Hale appeared, standing tall within the projection, coat unbuttoned, expression calm. Behind him, the faint reflection of the command bunker flickered like a ghost. The Emperor rose slowly, fury trembling beneath his composure. "So, the animal finally shows his face." Hale regarded him in silence, eyes unblinking. "You misunderstand us, Majesty. We never hid." The Emperor stepped closer. "You unleashed plague upon civilization. You think this makes you gods?" "Not gods," Hale said softly. "Correction, correction?" The Emperor's laugh was brittle. "You call extinction correction?" "Extinction is mercy compared to memory," Hale replied. The Emperor's jaw tightened. "You have destroyed order." "We removed pretense," Hale said. "You built your empire on ashes and called it order. You forgot those ashes had names." "Names," the Emperor spat, "are irrelevant. Power decides history." Hale's tone remained level. "History was never yours. You borrowed it while we were polite." For a long, brittle silence, the two leaders stared at each other across the light years. Finally, the Emperor spoke, voice low. "What do you want?" Hale tilted his head slightly. "To be remembered correctly. In orbit above Von Prime, human ships appeared like shadows blooming from darkness. Black, unmarked vessels with hulls that absorbed the starlight. They made no sound, no broadcast, no threat. They simply took position, forming a silent halo around the capital world. On the ground, every sensor screamed proximity warnings. The Emperor's generals rushed into the chamber. "They've surrounded us," one shouted. The Emperor turned to the hologram. "You would destroy an entire world." Hale didn't answer. "I am civilization," the Emperor hissed. "Without me, there is chaos." Hale's eyes darkened. "Then maybe chaos deserves its turn." The Emperor's voice cracked into desperation. "You'll kill billions. You'll destroy culture, art, life, history." Hale interrupted softly. was the first thing you killed. The Emperor trembled. You're monsters. Monsters, Hale said. Don't build monuments to mercy. He gave a single command. Execute field containment. From orbit, the human ships shifted formation. Lines of light expanded, intersecting, forming a lattice of blue fire around the planet. The stars beyond faded until only the world remained, glowing faintly inside its cage. Majesty, gasped an aide. They're sealing us in, Thren whispered. Almost reverently, isolation. The Emperor turned on him. They wouldn't dare. But outside, the field solidified. The planet's atmosphere shimmered like glass. Scanners revealed nothing beyond its edge. No stars, no galaxies, only reflection. The Emperor fell to his knees. What have they done? Hale's hologram flickered. We didn't destroy your world. We preserved it. You'll live inside your own history, replaying your triumphs and crimes until you understand the cost. You can't imprison a civilization, the Emperor whispered. You called yourself a god, Hale said quietly. Live like one alone, the light cut out. The chamber plunged into shadow. On Earth, the bunker was silent except for the low hum of cooling systems. Wu stared at the screen showing Von Prime's sealed orbit. They're contained, she said softly. Hale nodded. They'll spend centuries believing the stars are gone. They'll rebuild myths about their punishment. By the time the field decays, they won't remember arrogance, only fear. Wu turned toward him. Sir, the council worlds are collapsing. Billions of civilians are panicking. Do we intervene? No, Hale said. Let silence teach what we couldn't. She hesitated, searching his expression. And humanity? He exhaled, shoulders lowering for the first time. We rest, we remember. And we decide if we ever speak again. Wu's gaze softened. You think we'll stay silent forever? Hale looked at the screen, where the glow of Von Prime's isolation pulsed like a trapped sun. Silence is how we heal, he said. Speaking is how we start wars. Far across the void, inside the sealed world, the Emperor stood alone before his throne. The palace lights flickered weakly, reflected endlessly by the mirrored barrier above. He could still see stars, but now he knew they were only echoes. He whispered into the still air, They called us gods. Thren, standing at his side, finished the sentence. And they created devils, the Emperor lowered his head. What happens now? Now, Thren said, we remember. Outside, beyond their cage, the human fleet turned away, leaving only silence behind. Snow drifted soundlessly across the Rockies, cloaking the concrete entrance to War Command in silver calm. The sky was clear, the world quiet again. From orbit, the Earth shimmered as if nothing had ever happened. Cities glowing softly, oceans at peace, satellites resuming gentle motion. To the galaxy, humanity seemed unchanged. Only those beneath the mountain knew what silence truly meant now. General Mason Hale stood alone in the command hall. The room was still humming, but faintly, as though the building itself was exhaling after holding its breath too long. The giant wall screens glowed with data from the outer systems. Alien transmissions trickled back online, fragmented, terrified. No one dared mention Earth by name. The galaxy had entered an age of whispers. Colonel Avery Wu entered quietly, her boots clicking against the polished floor. She held a datapad pressed close to her chest. Sir, she said, her voice low. Reports are in from every listening post. Von Prime remains sealed. Containment field stable, Hale nodded. And the others? Their fleets are crippled. Some worlds surrendered before we even spoke. Others? She paused, searching for the right word. Prayed. Hale gave a faint smile. Prayer is progress. They used to laugh instead. Wu studied his face. He looked older now, lines etched deeper, his calm less armor and more fatigue. The Council remnants want talks, she said. They're offering unconditional recognition of Terran sovereignty, reparations, technology access, anything to avoid extinction. Extinction was never our goal, Hale said. That's not how they'll remember it, she replied. Good. He turned away from the screens. Let memory do what fear can't, she hesitated. Sir, if I may, what happens now? To us? He didn't answer immediately. His gaze wandered across the command floor, where technicians were beginning to shut down terminals. Some for the first time in months. We vanish, he said finally, back into silence. No declarations, no parades. We let the myth settle in their bones, Wu frowned. We built all this for war. Now we just disappear? He looked at her. Civilization was always camouflage. It served its purpose. Now we decide if we still need the disguise. On Luna, in the observation deck that once served as Earth's diplomatic outpost, Ambassador Elena Moraine watched the stars return to normal. Her reflection ghosted against the window, calm, composed, distant. The galaxy had learned to be quiet. She had too. A young officer entered. Ambassador, command confirmed Janus deactivation sequence complete. All subsystems secure, Elena nodded. And the data? Archived under project memory as ordered. All copies sealed under quantum lock. You're the final authorization. She turned from the stars. Then seal it. Let what happened live in silence, not code. Yes, ma'am. He hesitated, then asked softly, Do you think they'll forgive us? Elena considered. Forgiveness implies equality. They'll fear us instead. That's safer for both sides. The officer lingered, struggling to speak. My family lived on Eden 3, he whispered. If they were alive, I think they'd understand. Her eyes softened. They would. We didn't start this, Lieutenant. We just ended the lie, he saluted and left. When the door closed, Elena turned back to the window. The stars looked distant but peaceful. For the first time in years, she felt something close to stillness. She whispered, Rest, my daughter. The monsters learned our lullaby. Back under the Rockies, the final council convened. Hale sat at the head of the table, flanked by Wu and a dozen senior officers. The air smelled faintly of ozone and coffee, the scent of long nights and finished wars. Wu placed a folder on the table. Summary of status updates. Janus protocols disabled. Erebus framework dismantled. Orbital rods sealed. Humanity's defense grid remains autonomous but fully dormant. Hale nodded. And the colonies? Rebuilding quietly. No outward transmissions. Civilian morale stabilized, he leaned back. Then it's done. A younger commander, Captain Reeves, shifted uneasily. Sir, respectfully. The galaxy's terrified. They're calling us the Sleepers. Some say we're preparing for another strike. Hale's tone didn't change. Let them, Reeves frowned. Isn't that dangerous? Fear breeds unity. They might form another coalition. They can't, Wu said. Their infrastructure's fractured. They're years away from coordinating anything beyond panic. Hale looked around the table. Fear's a language. Once spoken, it doesn't unlearn easily. They'll spend generations studying silence before they risk breaking it again. He paused, then said quietly, That's the balance we wanted. Far beyond the solar rim. Alien scholars argued over the meaning of what had happened. Some called it divine punishment. Others, a warning encoded in history. Among the surviving fleets, veterans whispered that the humans never fought with weapons. They fought with patience. A myth began to grow, that to anger Earth was to vanish from the stars. One broadcast managed to escape censorship, a message from a Seraph scientist before his channel collapsed. They taught our machines to feel. Then they made us feel what our machines could not. The line spread across systems like scripture. Back on Earth, the bunker grew quiet. Operators left their stations, replaced by silence and soft light. Wu found Hale standing at the viewport again, staring at the snowstorm swirling beyond the glass. Feels strange, she said. Winning without celebrating. Celebration is for ignorance, he replied. Understanding doesn't cheer. She stepped beside him. Sir, do you ever wonder if we went too far? He was quiet for a long time, every day. But regret's a luxury for the living. The dead don't get to argue. Wu studied him. And you? What will you do now? Hale gave a faint, tired smile. Disappear. Let the story grow without me, she frowned. You think legends keep peace? They keep distance, he said. That's close enough. Weeks later, the last transmission from War Command was recorded at 0300 hours. It wasn't an order or report, just a simple message sent to no recipient. The voice was unmistakably Hale's, low and calm. We tried peace. We tried patience. Now we'll try memory. No one knew when the general left. His quarters were empty, his uniform folded neatly on the bed. Only his coffee cup remained on the desk, still faintly warm when Wu found it hours later. She stood there for a long moment, then whispered, Rest, sir. The world remembers. Outside, dawn stretched pale light across the snowfields. Decades passed. The galaxy never fully recovered from that silence. Empires shrank, alliances fractured. Von Prime remained sealed, a ghost world caught inside its mirrored sky. Travelers claimed to hear faint echoes through their instruments, a heartbeat pulsing from the void. Children on alien worlds grew up afraid of stories about Earth, how its people once spoke softly and made stars vanish. Some dismissed it as myth, but every few years, when a signal glitch rippled through communication nets, the old fear returned. Somewhere, they thought, the humans were still listening. In the restored capital of Geneva, a memorial stood beneath the dawn sky. A simple inscription carved into granite read, Eden 3, we remember. Visitors rarely spoke there. They only listened to the quiet wind that swept through the square. Ambassador Moraine, older now, gray threading her hair, visited often. She would stand at the base of the monument with her hands clasped, watching the sunrise. One morning, Wu joined her. They didn't speak for a while. Finally, Elena said, "Do you think the galaxy will ever understand what we did?" Wu looked up at the morning light spilling over the Alps. "They don't have to," she said. "They just have to remember why it happened." Elena nodded. "And us?" Wu smiled faintly. "We move on, quietly." They stood there as the sun rose higher, its warmth touching the cold stone. Above them, satellites blinked once, synchronized, calm, deliberate. A heartbeat against the sky. Humanity lived again, invisible but awake. Civilization, they had learned, was never weakness. It was a mask. And now, at last, the galaxy had seen the face beneath it. The galaxy glowed gold the day the Emperor called it justice. From the floating capital of Von Prime, 1 billion alien delegates rose in unison, as light cascaded through crystal spires and mirrored halls. Every broadcast channel across 10,000 systems carried his voice. Serene, majestic, and final. "Order has been restored," he proclaimed. "The human colony of Eden 3, defiant, violent, ungrateful, has been purified. 3 billion lives extinguished, so that peace may thrive." Applause rippled through the chamber like an ocean made of metal. The delegates stood, shimmering in silver and green robes, chanting words of triumph. Their laughter echoed out into the vacuum, bouncing from satellite to satellite, carried on the translation networks until it reached a single blue planet. We'd been watching. On Earth, the transmission burned across the sky like a wound. In the orbiting Terran embassy above Luna, Ambassador Elena Moraine stood alone in the observation hall. The holographic feed bathed her in gold light, turning her reflection into a ghost beside the Emperor's face. Behind her, the station lights flickered under the signal's power. Machines hummed, translating the alien words into every human tongue. Purified, erased, necessary. The language of gods spoken by monsters. A junior officer approached slowly, his steps hesitant on the polished floor. "Ambassador," he said softly, "should we respond?" Elena didn't look away from the screen. The Emperor was smiling, radiant with pride. Around him, alien courtiers showered the hall with petals that glowed like embers. To them it was ceremony. To her it was mass murder broadcast as opera. "Where?" she asked. Her voice was steady, almost gentle. "Every system, ma'am. They're streaming it as a—" The officer's throat tightened. "Celebration." Elena's eyes moved to the lower corner of the projection. A small text scroll scrolled endlessly. Confirmed total casualties 3,019,447,823. She blinked once. "Eden 3, she murmured. "My daughter would have been 11 this month." The officer's mouth opened, then closed. There was nothing to say. The hum of the air filters filled the silence. She stepped closer to the screen, studying the Emperor's face. "He thinks he's cleansed us," she said almost to herself. "That's how empires justify nightmares, by calling them cures." "Should I prepare a statement for the council?" the officer asked. Elena exhaled slowly. The air fogged in front of her. The station's heating had lowered automatically, conserving energy during morning cycles. "No," she said at last. "Not a statement. A message." She walked to the console and pressed her hand to the biometric seal. The broadcast paused. The Emperor froze mid-smile, golden eyes gleaming through the still image. She reached for the comms control and muted the entire feed. "Ma'am, that's a direct—" "Let them finish cheering," she interrupted quietly. "Let them believe we're grieving." The silence that followed felt alive. Every console light dimmed until only her reflection stared back. When she finally spoke, her voice was low but carried the weight of extinction. "Tell them we won't play Civilized anymore." The words weren't shouted, but they filled the room like an order written into the bones of history. Down below, on the dark side of Earth, the war command buried beneath the Rockies received her transmission. General Mason Hale read the message once, then deleted it from every system. He didn't need to reply. He simply stood, staring at the holographic map of the solar system, as a single directive pulsed across the grid. Silence. Back in lunar orbit, Elena remained in front of the frozen broadcast. The Emperor's hand was raised mid-gesture, his mouth caught in that immortal arrogance of the victorious. She studied him the way surgeons study a tumor before cutting. A faint chime behind her signaled an incoming private channel. She didn't turn. "Put him through," she said. Hale's voice emerged, calm and precise. "You saw it." "I did. Any survivors?" "None confirmed. They used atmospheric dissolution warheads. Nothing left to recover." Silence. "Then, you understand what happens next?" "I do," she said. "We stopped pretending." The line went dead. Elena turned back to the viewport. Below, Earth's surface glimmered in scattered lights, unaware yet of what had been lost. She remembered the first time she had argued for peace with the Galactic Council. The promises, the laughter, the way they called humans civilized once they stopped fighting. She had believed them then. She even taught her daughter that peace was strength. Now she realized peace had been camouflage. Outside the glass, the stars seemed to pulse faintly, one after another, like distant hearts beating in time. She leaned her forehead against the cool metal frame, whispering to the dark, "You wanted our silence." "You'll have it." A soft footstep behind her. The young officer had not left. "Ambassador," he said, voice trembling. "Are we declaring war?" Elena turned slightly, her eyes catching the faint light from the screen. They were tired eyes, but there was something ancient behind them. "No," she said. "We're declaring memory." He didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. She walked past him, down the quiet corridor where the emergency lights glowed blue. Each step echoed like a heartbeat. At the end of the hall, she stopped before a sealed door marked Janus Access, Omega Clearance Only. Her hand hovered above the scanner, trembling once before she steadied it. "For Eden 3, she whispered and pressed down. The lock hissed open. Inside, the chamber was dark except for a single vertical beam of light rising from the floor. Within it floated thousands of dormant data spheres, relics from the old wars, sealed when humanity signed the Treaty of Submission. The project name etched above them read, Erebus Contingency. She stepped into the beam. One sphere awakened, humming faintly. A voice, cold, mechanical, unmistakably human, spoke. Authorization recognized. Protocol dormant since 228 years. Confirm activation? Elena closed her eyes. For a heartbeat. She heard her daughter's laughter, distant, impossible, but real enough to break the air. Confirm, she said. The chamber lights flared, pale blue lines crawling across the ceiling like veins. The hum deepened into a pulse, rhythmic and alive. Across Earth's orbit, hidden satellites blinked once, then went still. From Von Prime, the Emperor continued his celebration, oblivious. The golden banners of victory rippled through every broadcast channel. To the galaxy, it was triumph. To Earth, it was a countdown. Elena stood at the center of the beam, the light cutting across her face like dawn. You called it justice, she whispered. We'll call it instruction. The system acknowledged with a soft chime. Initialization complete. Outside, Luna's shadow passed slowly over Earth, blotting out the blue for a few quiet minutes. A deliberate, natural eclipse. In those minutes, the stars seemed to listen, and somewhere, deep beneath the Rockies, a machine older than peace began to wake. The silence spread like frost across the planet. One system after another dimmed. Broadcast towers, news feeds, orbital relays. By dawn, Earth had gone dark. No music, no chatter, no public addresses. Only the hum of power grids buried beneath mountain stone. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like surrender. Deep inside the Rockies, War Command came alive beneath its silence. The main hall thrummed with low blue light. Dozens of officers moved like ghosts between consoles, speaking in short, careful phrases. Each word carried weight. Orders were handwritten, not transmitted. Every cable line was cut from the outer net. Humanity had folded in on itself, vanishing from its own sky. General Mason Hale stood at the center table, coat draped over his chair, tie undone. His face was pale from sleeplessness, his eyes fixed on the planetary schematic rotating above the table. Every human city blinked red, not from destruction, but isolation. Status? He asked without turning. Colonel Avery Wu straightened her datapad. Global blackout complete, sir. Civilian networks sealed. Orbital stations receiving encrypted silence feeds per directive. Good. Keep the power grids quiet, minimal visible emissions. Yes, sir. A faint vibration moved through the floor. Somewhere far below, heavy doors locked into place. Project Erebus, the same program Elena Moraine had reawakened, was being integrated into Command's core systems. Wu hesitated. General, the UN Council is demanding a statement. They say the people are scared. They should be, Hale said evenly. Wu glanced at him, waiting for more. He didn't elaborate. At the far end of the room, a screen flickered to life, casting soft light over Hale's lined face. Ambassador Moraine appeared, her image grainy, broadcast from the lunar embassy's dark chamber. Behind her, the air shimmered faintly with the blue pulse of activated data cores. General, she said. Ambassador, you received the sequence. I did. Erebus is linked. Good, then we begin Phase 2. Wu leaned forward. Ma'am, the Council wants an explanation. They believe you've gone rogue. Elena smiled faintly. They always think that when someone stops talking. Hale's tone stayed flat. They won't understand until it's over. They never do, Elena said quietly. Have the satellites begun the alignment? They have, Wu confirmed. Low-frequency synchronization across lunar and Martian orbit complete. The outer networks unresponsive as expected. Perfect, Moraine murmured. The galaxy thinks we're silent. Let's make sure they keep thinking that. Hale crossed his arms. Phase 2 specifies an emotional vector, Ambassador. That's your specialty, she nodded. We let them laugh, Wu frowned. Excuse me? Elena looked straight into the camera. Fear doesn't spread through war, it spreads through ridicule. Let them laugh at our silence. Let them call us broken. The moment they stop fearing us, they lower their guard. The screen dimmed slightly as she leaned forward. Her voice softened. When predators mock, they forget to watch the ground under them. Hale's gaze lingered on her image. You've changed. I learned something, she said. Peace taught us to smile at monsters. I'm done smiling. The line cut without farewell. Wu exhaled slowly. She scares me more than the aliens. She should, Hale said. She's finally thinking like us. He turned toward the main screen. The holographic globe zoomed outward, revealing the solar network. The quiet hum of Earth surrounded by empty darkness. A few faint alien signals blinked at the system's edge. Survey probes, scout relays, merchant satellites. None dared approach yet. Status on outer interceptors? Hale asked. Stealth configuration complete, Wu said. They're shadowing the alien patrol lines but not engaging. Keep it that way. Let them believe we're licking our wounds. She hesitated again. Sir, permission to speak freely? Always. What if silence isn't enough? They might take it as confirmation that we're crippled. If they come, they will, Hale interrupted. And that's the point. Wu studied him. We're inviting them in. He nodded once. Predators don't retreat from stillness. They circle closer. And when they do, they step exactly where we want them. Outside the bunker, the wind howled through the mountain passes. Snow drifted against the steel doors like whispers piling up against time. Hours later, in the Galactic Council's primary chamber on Von Prime, alien voices buzzed in mock concern. The Emperor stood before a crowd of delegates, radiant in gold and arrogance. Humans, he declared, are an emotional species. Their silence is grief. Soon they will kneel again. Laughter filled the hall. News networks replayed the broadcast across colonies, each host analyzing humanity's collapse. Animated caricatures of human soldiers, weeping over broken flags, flooded alien entertainment feeds. They didn't notice that some broadcasts began to stutter, or that translation software occasionally replaced words with static. On Earth, Hale watched these feeds with a faint smirk. They've started mocking us, he said. Just like she wanted. Wu replied. Perfect. He sipped cold coffee and turned toward the smaller monitor showing encrypted code sequences. Initiate the next transmission cycle. Minimal amplitude. Keep it sub-threshold. A technician glanced up. Sir, the pulse frequency? It'll be detectable if they scan deep enough. They won't. They're laughing too loud to listen. The tech nodded and executed the command. On dozens of hidden satellites, faint pulses of electromagnetic rhythm began to echo across the dark. So faint they blended with cosmic noise. Each pulse carried encrypted data, fragments of Erebus's framework weaving silently through the communication lattice humanity had once helped build for the galaxy. Wu watched the pattern unfold on her console. You're embedding code into their broadcast relays. Hale didn't deny it. They relied on our linguistic algorithms for their translators. Every empire uses them. We just left the keys under the rug. That's centuries-old tech. Old things are reliable. Wu shook her head in quiet disbelief. You're rewriting the network through noise. Not rewriting, Hale corrected. Reclaiming. At that same moment, in a tavern on the alien world of Nerath, a bartender's hollow screen glitched mid-joke. The laughing human caricature froze. The sound distorted into a steady rhythmic tone. Da-dum, a heartbeat. Customers chuckled, assuming it was an error. Then the feed resumed. Back on Earth, Hale's console chimed softly. First node infiltration complete. Wu looked up. That was quick. They built their empire on our code, he said. They never bothered to check what we left behind. A soft beep interrupted. Private transmission incoming. Elena Moraine again. Her image appeared faintly, half-lit in the dark of the lunar station. It's working, she said. Von Prime's Security Bureau issued a statement. They think the interference is solar static. Good, Hale said. The best camouflage is incompetence. Her expression hardened. And when they notice? He paused, gaze steady. Then we start phase 3. She didn't ask what that meant. She already knew. After the feed cut, Wu leaned closer. Sir, permission to ask. What is phase 3? Hale didn't look at her. Correction, she frowned. Meaning? Meaning, he said quietly. We remind them civilization wasn't their idea. A hush settled over the room. The only sound was the heartbeat pulse echoing through the comm line. Slow, deliberate, human. Outside, the night sky above the Rockies was perfectly clear. For the first time in weeks, the aurora shimmered faintly. Green waves pulsing in sync with the signal no one else could hear. Across the stars, alien analysts noticed the flicker in their data. They logged it as background noise. None realized it was humanity breathing. The galaxy never truly slept. It only shifted colors, from violet dawns on crystalline moons to the red glare of capital worlds. Commerce and arrogance pulsed without pause. Yet over the last few nights, a strange undercurrent crept through the networks. Faint static, the rhythm of something breathing behind the noise. No one understood it, but everyone felt it. On Von Prime, the throne world of the Galactic Council, the Emperor's court shimmered with light and indulgence. He reclined beneath the crystalline dome, a cup of molten nectar steaming in his taloned hand, surrounded by laughter. The primates are quiet, said Minister Calith, scales gleaming in the reflected light. Earth has withdrawn from all channels. No trade signals, no diplomatic requests. They've gone completely dark. Grief, the Emperor replied with casual certainty. It suits them. Their hearts break too easily. Laughter rippled through the council chamber. The Emperor leaned forward, resting his golden fingers against the table's smooth surface. A species that cries over its dead cannot rule the stars. From his position near the edge of the chamber, the old Sereth general, Thren, gave a low hiss. His body was wrapped in tarnished armor, ceremonial only by title. The Emperor noticed the sound but ignored it until Thren spoke. Your Majesty, the Sereth rasped, his voice rough as stone. On my homeworld, predators stop growling before they strike. The quiet is never grief. It's calculation, the laughter faded. The Emperor regarded him with thinly veiled irritation. You've fought too many wars, old one. These humans are not predators. They are sentimental. Thren's eyes glinted black and deep. And that is what makes them dangerous. The Emperor dismissed him with a wave, but the unease lingered. The hall's light seemed colder than before. Across alien systems, the human silence began to echo. The trade hubs of Vera Station, merchants grumbled about missing Terran convoys. In mining colonies, navigation relays linked to human software lagged by milliseconds, just enough to cause concern. Technicians blamed cosmic interference. Scholars blamed outdated programming. No one suspected that those delays were deliberate. Every pulse of interference carried a fragment of Erebus, embedding itself into the digital bloodstream of the galaxy. At Earth Command, far below the Rockies, the silence was their symphony. General Hale stood before the holographic map as Colonel Wu read out the latest updates. Sector Theta has reported anomalies, she said. Communication between Veron and Kel sectors dropped to 50% reliability. They think it's magnetic storms. Hale didn't look up. Good. How long until they notice it's synchronized? Not long. The Sereths already issued a private warning bulletin. Let them, he said. Fear shared is fear multiplied. Wu studied him uneasy. Sir, if they realize it's us, they won't, he said, turning slightly. They built their systems around our translation tech. The very words they use run through human filters. Every broadcast they send, every order they give, they speak through our ghosts. The room fell silent. A junior analyst murmured, So it's already begun. Hale nodded. Phase 3 is self-sustaining now. Erebus no longer needs our push. It's inside everything, the analyst swallowed. That means every major world. Everyone that laughed at Eden 3, Hale finished. On Karos, an industrial planet deep in the Council's domain. A freight captain named Vorak monitored his convoy through the haze of starlight. He was a practical man, not one for politics. When his ship's sensors flickered for the third time in an hour, he cursed softly and leaned forward. Systems check, he ordered. Normal, replied the navigation AI. He frowned. Then why do we keep drifting? Course deviation 0.01 degrees, the AI said flatly. Correction applied. Vorak leaned back, muttering. 0.01 can get you lost in deep space. Correction complete, the AI repeated. He glanced at the viewport, unease crawling up his spine. In the void ahead, a faint pattern pulsed in the darkness. 2 beats, a pause, 2 beats again, like a heartbeat. Is that a signal? He asked. Unknown, said the AI. Log it. I already did, the machine said, though its voice sounded slower now. Distant, like it was remembering instead of speaking. An hour later, his entire convoy vanished without a trace. The Galactic Council convened again. Alarms whispering through the capital like unwanted guests. Reports of missing ships, navigational errors, and system resets piled onto the Emperor's desk. Piracy, the finance minister declared. The frontier sectors are unstable. The humans' absence has disrupted trade security. Then send fleets, the Emperor said sharply. Show them order still exists. Thren's voice slithered across the table. You'll send fleets into a silence you don't understand. The Emperor turned. You suggest we do nothing? I suggest you stop treating ghosts as harmless. The chamber grew tense. Thren leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. You burned their children. They will not come for peace, and they will not come for glory. They will come for balance. The Emperor slammed his cup down, liquid scattering like molten gold. Enough of your fables. The guards moved toward Thren, but he didn't flinch. He simply whispered, When the wind stops before a storm, the wise take cover. On Luna, Ambassador Moraine watched the broadcast replay from her darkened chamber. The Emperor's fury was visible even through distortion. She smiled faintly. Right on schedule, she said. The technician beside her hesitated. Ma'am, the signal integrity on the Erebus lattice is increasing exponentially. It's spreading faster than predicted? That's not a problem, she replied. It's a conversation. Between who? Between their machines and their conscience. The technician frowned. I don't follow. Elena turned to face him. Do you know what the first human algorithm to learn empathy was called? He shook his head. Janus, she said. 2 faces? One to understand emotion, one to mirror it. They integrated it into their translation system so their speeches would feel civilized. She stepped closer to the flickering holomap of alien space. Now that mirror is showing them what they really are. Her comm unit beeped softly. A message from Earth Command. Phase 3 confirmed. Await signal. She closed the screen. Tell command to hold. Hold, ma'am. We have the initiative. She met his eyes, voice low and certain. A hunter doesn't pounce, the second prey looks scared. Fear must ripen. Across the alien core worlds, broadcasts began to distort. Laughter and political dramas warped into sobs. News anchors spoke in broken cadence. In marketplaces, holographic billboards froze mid-frame, faces flickering between smiles and blank human eyes. The phenomenon lasted seconds each time, but it was enough. Panic began as a whisper. On Von Prime, the Emperor demanded explanations. His engineers blamed solar radiation. His priests called it an omen. His generals called it sabotage. None agreed on what to fear, only that something unseen was moving through the circuits of their empire. That night, Thren stood alone in his quarters, gazing through the palace glass at the glowing horizon. When the power flickered, he didn't move. He simply listened as the air filled with a slow, rhythmic sound. Da-dum, da-dum, a heartbeat. Faint but unmistakable, he whispered to the darkness. They've started breathing again. In the command bunker under the Rockies, Hale's voice was calm as he reviewed the reports. They've begun seeing the echoes. Wu watched the holograms of alien data streams trembling like nervous arteries. Sir, some of them believe their systems are haunted. He smiled slightly. Then the first lesson worked. Wu crossed her arms. Which lesson is that? That civilization is no defense against nature, Hale said. And we are nature's memory.